Good morning, Mats. How are you all today? Wonderful. Well, hope you enjoyed a great day one and that you had an opportunity to join FMCSA session yesterday where we talked about fraud and all the things the agency is doing to combat that across the industry. But we do have a wonderful treat for you all today. Thank you again for coming. Well worth your time. I am excited to introduce to you all today the Administrator for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, Administrator Derek D. Bars.
Thank you, dear. All right, good morning, everyone. How are you today? Boy, them lights are some kind of bright. Anyway, so first of all, let me start off by saying I was talking to someone in the audience earlier. I want to tell you a quick story about watermelons. It has to do whenever I was out weighing trucks one day. This watermelon hauler comes through the ag station and he says, actually it was really hot, during that time of the year. And we thought we were going to be kind of slick and so forth. So, we can probably get us a couple of them watermelons off of that truck. So we said, boy, I think you might be about 4 or 5 watermelons overweight. And he said, well, you think I am? I said, yes, I believe you are. I think you might be about 4 or 5 watermelons overweight. I said, we're going to probably have to get you to offload some of those if you can. And he said, well, just give me about just a couple of minutes, son. Let me figure this out. And he walks up and gets on the back of that trailer. And he gets one and throws it right down, and they just bust everywhere. Gets 2, 3, 4, and 5, and all 5 of them just busted out all on the ground right there. I said, well, boy, I can tell you that's not exactly what I was thinking about, but I think you're good to go now. So, and that is somewhat a true story, to be honest with you. Might have been a little bit more in there, but that's basically how that went. But anyways, I want to start off by a couple of things by saying, what do you value? And I think it's important before I go into talking about my prepared remarks, and I have a couple of these things, and I've shared them before. And give me just a second, please. Because I think if we don't know what we're doing and why we're here and what we have in front of us, that we'll be doing a whole lot of different things that we don't think we should be doing, if that makes sense. But give me just a second. I don't know why I can't find this thing. Shouldn't be that hard. There we go. That's a good song. All right. So anyways, why do we serve and why are we here? There's a couple of things that I think that are important to me that I think go in line with the trucking industry. And I said this a few weeks back at an event that I had, and this is the way I feel, and I think that is faith, number one, family, the communities that we serve, and we have a responsibility, and we also have service. I think that ties in with my life and the kind of the way that I am, but I also think it reflects on this industry of every one of you in this room. And first of all, I want to thank you, and on behalf of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation, how much we appreciate the people that are in this room that drive America and do the things and haul 70% of our freight across this country. And I want every driver, I want every owner, I want everyone who has something to do with transportation, I want you to stand up in this room today. But if you will, please stand up for me. And I want you to give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. Y'all can sit down. Appreciate it very much. And one thing I want to talk about with family. We serve because of a family because every load we move, every rule we write, every decision we make affects someone's loved one. We serve because of community, because this industry does not drive the economy, it holds the country together, town by town and mile by mile. Responsibility, because safety isn't optional. It's something that we have as a duty. And for many of us, we serve because of faith, and I'm not afraid to stand up here and talk about that. I'm not afraid to stand up and say how thankful I am for my family, and I'm thankful that I have faith in how I was raised. And that sense is what brings us all together. And I feel like it's what brings who we are and our communities together. So as I go into our remarks, I want to thank you for allowing us to be here in the agency that we have at FMCSA and allowing us to be here and to share and talk about safety. As I said earlier, I want to thank you all for what you do inside this room every single day. Whether you're a small owner, whether you're a fleet operator, you're a technician, you're a trainer, you don't just move the freight, you move America, as I said earlier. I don't have to tell you again that you move 70% of our nation's goods across this country. That means everything from groceries to medicines, the clothes that we have on our backs. And I want you to hear this clearly from me and our team, how much we appreciate you. I hear you and I listen to you. We may not always agree on every single item, but I hear you and I listen to you, and we want to try to make sure that we make the best possible changes that we can for the trucking industry. But I do want to talk a little bit about where we are and where we're headed as an agency. And I want you to know, and this is what I hope that you will see as we move forward, is that this is a new FMCSA. And this needs to be the norm. This can't be, you can't revert back, you can't say that you can't have access. This has to be the norm of who we are and what we represent. And FMCSA, backed by the support and confidence of both President Trump and Transportation Secretary Duffy, who will be here a little bit later this morning. An FMCSA that is here for the purpose of making our roadways safer for everyone. Safety that actually saves lives, rules that actually make sense. I had a conversation with our rulemaking team this last week. I said, I need you to do one thing when we start making rules. I said, I need you to make it trooper-proof. It has to be that simple. Us troopers aren't the smartest knives in the drawers, and that's all right, but I said that. But we have to make it simple. If we have to have so much guidance out here, I mean, what good is it? We need to make the rule to where it's clear, to make where it's understandable, and make sure that you understand it so you can follow it. There's so many things that are inside our rules. And so if we make it so difficult for you to be able to comply with it, and then also so difficult for us to enforce it, guess what happens? It doesn't. Nothing comes into compliance. We need to have quality training and enforcement that is fair, consistent, and strong. Everything we are doing comes back to one mission, and I feel like that has to be about reducing crashes, injuries, and fatalities involving large trucks and buses. That can't be just something about what I'm saying. It's not some kind of report or anything like that, but it's out there as things that you see every single day, things that you've been a part of. And I want to ask this question. How many of you all have been involved in a fatality or in a crash that has involved with serious bodily injury? Can you stand up for just a minute, if you don't mind? If you've been involved in that? And I can bet you, the ones that just stood up, you can sit down, thank you very much. I bet you that you remember who those people are, right? You know exactly who they are and where you were exactly whenever you saw that particular crash or when it occurred. So when I talk about that, I think about one individual. I think about this young girl, and I talk about her all the time. The first time I responded to a crash and I saw this young lady, she went up under a log truck and peeled her head off. And then she burned up from the waist down. She was about 19 years old, and I wasn't much older than she was, to be honest with you. But I will never forget her. And I'm sure that based off of that crash, which I didn't have any idea at that time, but I know today, that if there'd have been a light on the back of that log, or there'd have been a flag of a requirement back then, she probably wouldn't have gone up under that log truck. So it has to be real, and I don't want you to ever forget those people. because that's the reason why we do the things that we do at this agency. We talk about this in every meeting. We talk about why do we do what we do, because if you forget your why, then it's time for you to go. And so when I forget my why, I'll be out the door, I promise you. And to get there, we've spent the last year of understanding and trying to get to where we can reduce our crashes. We spent the last year laying out a strong foundation of modernizing our policies, removing outdated requirements, and focusing on what actually improves safety, in our opinion. A big part of this effort is responding directly to what we've heard from you. We did have a Pro Trucker package. The Pro Trucker package we rolled out last summer wasn't just a policy initiative. It was a direct response to real concerns that we've heard from drivers and carriers. And I'll tell you what, real quick, I'm sorry to go off on stories here. I heard a driver yesterday that I talked to, one of your peers. He told me yesterday, he said, the best thing for y'all to do, don't listen to us drivers. He said, because we ain't going to do nothing but complain all the time. He said, you're going to fix something, you're going to come back and say, why'd you fix it? I said, well, I don't think I can quite do that. I think I better start listening to my stakeholders because I think that they're very important. He said, well, I'm just giving you that advice, son. So I said, so anyways, you told FMCSA you needed more flexibility. You told the agency that systems need to reflect how the job actually works. So we took note and took action. We've launched the 2 hours of service pilot programs. One allows drivers to pause the 14-hour clock so you can rest when you need to and avoid congestion when that makes sense. The other expands sleeper berth flexibility, giving the options to structure your rest in a way that makes real-world sense. And here's what matters. We need to stop guessing. We've got to use this information that we receive from the drivers, and we're going to be looking for drivers. And if you are interested in being a part of that program, FMCSA staff is going to be here, and we ask that you talk to us and let's put your name on that list. Because if we're going to make changes, we need to be grounded in reality and not assumptions, as we all know, and this is where you come in. As I said, if you want to be a part of this program, we'd love for you to provide that information to us. That same approach of listening, collecting data, and then acting in driving the rest for our work. And I want to talk more through some of the programs that we have. And first is going to be English language proficiency. I think we've strengthened that. We've heard from folks and actually enforcing rules and regulations that have been on the books for a long period of time. And since last June, we've placed over 17 unique drivers out of service for the English language proficiency. And I believe that's where that matters. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put it out here. You probably went by our booth yesterday, and you saw one of these documents that we have that was in 2 different languages. Well, trust me, today it's not up there, okay? Yeah. I'll give you a quick story about that that I found out about. It was in Chinese. Well, back in about 2015 and 2019, we were working on motor coaches and so forth with issues going up and down the I-95 corridor related to that from some of those particular type carriers, and that's where some of that information come from. But let me say, it is important to us. We still have material that is out there in different languages. That material is going away, will not be there, or surely will not be out here today, I can promise you. But I want to make sure that you understand that when we see things and we make mistakes, I appreciate it being brought to our attention, and we'll address those things as they move forward. But out of service, this past week I was out on patrol with Florida, which I was glad to be back in the patrol car, to be honest with you. And then I saw where it was on social media and so forth like that about the English language proficiency piece. This gentleman could not speak a lick of English. And when you're trying to do a roadside inspection, that's pretty dangerous. I remember back in the day when I was doing roadside inspections, I would be up under the truck doing a level 1 checking brakes, and I'd just have to have my whistle on so that individual would know to apply your brake. But I've had individuals who didn't understand what I was saying and start trying to crank up their truck while I'm up under there. Because I said, apply your brake, and they turn the key on and start cranking up the truck, and I'm over there screaming and hollering and saying, don't do that, you know. And so, the point of the matter is that understanding our road signs and understanding emergency instructions and communicating with law enforcement during roadside inspections, that's a safety risk if you're not able to do that. This is about making sure that every driver operating on our roads can respond in real time and real conditions when it matters the most. And the second thing I want to talk about is things that is really dear to my heart that I think is where the rubber meets the road, and that's entry-level driver training. And the parts of having self-certification processes for allowing things to occur and saying we're going to have a self-certification like ELDs and entry-level driver training, in my mind, it makes absolutely zero sense. We're taking action to clean up the pipeline that we have, and we've already removed over 7,000 non-compliant driver training sites across the country. We've had investigators go in over 1,500 of these locations, as you all know, and continuously are working to remove the bad actors in our training schools. I'm committed to ensuring that FMCSA reviews all 16,000 providers that we have on this list. But I will be honest with you to say, if I have my way about this and we move forward with pieces of legislation, that we'll wipe this entire entry-level driver training school the way it exists today, just do away with it and start all over with a new process. And if you are a good entry-level driver training school, you will not mind providing the information and providing the oversight that is needed to ensure that your actual CDL means something instead of them pushing through like cattle. Because when training providers cut corners, they're not just undermining the system, they're putting unprepared drivers on the roadways, and we all know that that's not exactly what we're looking for in this profession. You are professional drivers and you need to be treated as such. And again, your driver's license that you have, your CDL, again, should mean something. Third, I'm going to talk about non-domiciled CDLs. Last year, we took a hard look at how non-domiciled CDLs are being issued across this country. We reviewed the process in every single state, and we found that there was pretty deeply concerning issues. We saw inconsistent identity and verifications, and we saw weak documentation standards, and in some cases, we saw individuals obtaining CDLs without meeting the full set of requirements that are set in the law. That's a problem for safety. And we've all seen the horrific crashes by drivers of non-domiciled, and not just non-domiciled. I'm not going to just call that out. I'm going to call it out for that because that's the topic that I'm talking about. But it is also for individuals who are not paying attention, who do not take driving a truck serious and are not doing the right things. We had to act. We issued an interim final rule last year that garnered thousands of comments, all of which were reviewed before issuing the final rule, and on March 16th, our non-domiciled rule finally took effect. It's been in effect for the last couple of weeks. That rule strengthens eligibility vetting and closes gaps, and it is expected to remove drivers off of the CDL rolls. But let me be clear about this. At the same time, we are also confident that American drivers will step up and fill these jobs. Because this is what about restoring integrity to the system and ensuring that every CDL represents the same standard no matter where it is issued, all across this country. So the last thing one of the things I want to talk about is electronic logging devices. The fraud that is occurring inside ELDs, the fraud that is occurring in entry-level driver trainings. This is another issue when it comes to self-certification, which is ridiculous. We are continuing to remove non-compliant ELDs from the market, and this team over here that is led by Bill Mahoney, who is back here in the back, I want to thank Bill for the work that he has done and his team. If a device does not meet the federal requirements, it doesn't need to stay on our registry. And so we have had 430 plus new applicants to come in to have ELDs in this market for the last 6 months. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, is that about right? Okay, all right. So we have not allowed any in the market because of the vetting that these individuals have been able to do. If we were not vetting that and we were not actually doing something and just allowing them to go into the market, we'd have another 435 or so ELDs in the market. That's way too many. We've pulled over 80 plus already from the ones who are actually currently inside the system. We have been pulling them off as well. We will continue to go through each one of these ELDs that are actually on the self-certification process list and removing all the ones that do not meet the specs. And we will continue to do that, and this team has been relentless in being able to get that done. The fraud across this entire country when it comes to chameleon carriers. Our team is working to address the chameleon carrier issues because at the end of the day, I believe that they are taking away from the people who are trying to do the right things, the people that I believe that are in this room, who are trying to make a living, who are trying to do the right things, and we've got people who are circumventing the systems by just slapping on a DOT number on the side of their trucks. Everybody who's been on the roadway, who's been out driving at a truck stop have seen this happen. We are not putting our heads in the sand and saying that it doesn't happen. We need to address it, which we are addressing. I'll give you a classic example of what our investigative teams are actually doing right now. We got some locations that have 400 or 500 different locations at one principal place of business. How does that happen? I'm not real sure that that's how, when I go and ask for you to provide us their safety records, when the people in this room who are actually, you have your records, you have everything that's related to your driver files, your vehicle files, and so forth, ready to display for an investigation. And you've got 714 different carriers at one location. How in the world are they going to provide all that many records at that one location? And so our team with our attorneys and our special investigative unit, I'm going to say this again, I'm coming for them. And we're going to come for them, and we're going to address this. We've got people that are back here in this room who've been providing me information for a period of time before I even came into this position. They're saying, hey, you've got a problem, here's a problem, here's a problem. And they're absolutely right, and we have to address this problem to make sure that we get rid of the bad actors and the cream continues to rise to the top so this industry can continue to thrive the way we know that it can thrive, but we've got to get the bad actors out. So we're improving their registration system, but those things that I'm talking about are already in our registration system. We can't wait 2 years for people to start updating their MCS 150s. We've got to do something about that now, which we are. We're progressing forward really nicely. I'm happy with the progress that we're making. And then our new system that Ken and Ankur is going to come up and talk about in a few minutes, and he'll give you an overview of the work that is being done on strengthening our MODIS system, our new registration system, to ensure that we stop the fraud that is occurring and not allowing the things to happen. So I look forward for them talking about that to you and answering your questions. Now, everything I've just talked about comes back to the core idea and what's in our name, and that's about safety. And I want to be clear about that. And I've told you all about my background and where I've come from and where I've stood and the things that I've seen and the things that you can never unsee. Because when things go wrong, there's consequences to them and people's lives can be changed forever. So when we talk about strong enforcement, I saw an article yesterday. It said that the feds are cutting back on enforcement. I'm not real sure where they picked that up from. But I can promise you that if there is any concern about that whatsoever, I'm going to make that clear in this room. So anybody's out here writing that, y'all can start typing it all you want to. I'm going to tell you that we are strong on our enforcement. If you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, you're not going to have a problem. But my point is always making sure that we have a strong investigative team, and then we also have strong uniformed inspections that are being done in traffic enforcement. I heard from other folks before that we have to do strong traffic enforcement, and it's not just the commercial vehicles, it's the four-wheelers as well, and making sure that everyone is treated the same. So I'm going to close with this, saying that no matter whether you're a part of an advisory committee, whether you're on a pilot program study, and even through direct engagement like on our social media or just talking to us here, I want you to know that we're listening to you. Again, we may not always agree on every single thing, but I am going to always listen to you and come back and try to figure out ways that are best for us to be able to shape where we're going in the future. But the truth is, we have a big job to do. The rulemaking process is so long, y'all. I'm so sorry about how long that it takes, but there is a process for that. and to making sure that we receive the right comments that come in from everyone, to make sure that there is a process to make sure that we can get that out and it will actually be a good rule. But luckily, I know that we don't have to do this alone. We have great state partners. We have great industry partners and people that want to strengthen this industry and work with us. Whether you're a safety advocate, whether you're a researcher, it doesn't matter. We're here and we're open for business, and we're here to listen to you. And I want to close by saying how much I value you all again, how much I value the American truck driver. I said that in my confirmation hearing. I will continue to say that. And our team that is here, we are here to support you and to try to make things more safe on our roadways. And I want to thank you all again, and God bless each and every one of you. I've got to go meet the secretary. I think he's coming in here in just a few minutes, coming into Matt's, but I want to turn this over to Ankur and Ken Riddle, who are going to talk a little bit more about our registration system. But again, thank you all so much for your time. I look forward to mingling and talking with you throughout the rest of Matt's.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? All right. So while the slides load, that'll help. Imagine on a day like today, it's rainy, dark, wee hours of the morning, you're driving on I-65 going through the heart of Louisville, and it's dark, roads are slick, and in your rearview mirror you see the unmistaken the lights of a tractor trailer barreling down behind you at 70 miles an hour, right? You know you're in control. In the cab of the truck is a person you will never meet in your life. And you don't have a choice but to trust that he's in control or they're in control, right? As fate has it, they turn on their left turn signal, they go into the left lane, pass you by, and in a few minutes they're gone. Nothing happens, right? It's the norm. In fact, the transaction is so insignificant that it happens to all of us multiple times a day, and we don't remember any of it. But that's the paradox of our mission, right? We are judged by failures, not the successes that happen. Every incident that occurs results in headlines, but there are no headlines saying, wow, somebody passed you on the left today. There's no incidents for that, but that happens every single day. We have grown up in a culture where we applaud for firefighters running out of a burning building with a little child in their hand, somebody saved a life. But we don't applaud the mom that doesn't let the fire start in the first place. How do you cheer for things that never, ever happen? How many accidents have we saved? We don't know, because they never happened. There's no headline. There is no news article. There's no news coverage for stuff that never happened, right? So in an industry today where we are driving more miles, we are carrying more freight than ever, there's more fraud that we observe, and there's a steady influx of motor carriers coming in. My job as the Chief Product and Technology Officer for the agency is to make the interactions you have with us as motor carriers, as drivers, as transportation service providers, as forgettable as a truck passing you by the left, right? Because that's easy. Compliance and safety should not be hard. When it's hard, then people take shortcuts to get by it. That's my job. And we've, as Administrator Barrs mentioned, have set on a path of accelerated modernization where we are relooking at pretty much everything to see how can we make these interactions between the regulator and the regulated entities and everybody that supports the trucking ecosystem more efficient, faster, better, cheaper. And that's the role of technology today. Right? And how we're doing that? Number one, we're securing our front door. What that means is we don't want actors that should not be in the system in the first place. A great mind once said, a fool with a tool is still a fool. By giving him a tool, you make him faster, right? And technology is that tool. It is indiscriminately efficient. It'll make everything faster, good, bad, or ugly. Doesn't matter. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we don't hand tools to fools. That's securing the front door. We are putting in checks like identity verification to ensure we know who we are interacting with. We have business verification to make sure the businesses that are entering our systems are actual businesses. And we are cleaning our data so that the remnants of the old past don't remain. All of these elements will help us secure our front door and make sure bad actors can't come into the system in the first place. Next, we have a lot of systems that are decades old. We're talking 20, 30, 40 years old technology, right? Now, all of those systems were built for a time using technology that was contemporary for that time, and it worked. And I'm not here to bash an old system, because I can assure you that if we don't take a good digital transformation approach going forward, whatever I'm building today will be laughed at in 10 years. That's a fact. We have to continuously evolve. Everything evolves, technology especially. And we have to keep up with times. If we don't keep up with times, we have bad systems. And bad systems give you gaping holes and threat vectors that other people can exploit, and that results in fraud, abuse, waste, all of the above, right? So we are re-looking at everything that we do, not just from a technology standpoint, but even our business practices, our business processes that we use to update information, collect more information from folks, get compliance information. Because even those processes are somewhat driven by the technology that was available 20, 30 years ago, because that's when they were written. Slapping on a new technology to an old process is not transformation. It's just giving you a wallpaper on a house that has a cracked foundation, right? It'll look pretty when it falls, but it'll fall. So we are looking at the entire gamut. We're like, if we have this technology available, can we acquire data from our end users in a more efficient way? The answer is most likely yes. Can we process it faster? Can we hand it to you faster so that you can make the decisions that are needed at your end at the pace that the industry desires? And that brings me to my last point. We are using technology as a force multiplier. At any given day, we are vastly outnumbered. We are a 1,000-person agency, give or take a few. And the ecosystem that we manage is massive. You're talking almost 1 million active motor carriers. You're talking almost 7 million drivers, 10 million vehicles. 1,000 people are not going to one-to-one manage this interaction. So when I say we're using technology as a force multiplier, we're trying to see how we can do things faster in a way that reduces cognitive load on our staff so that they can do things faster, but also how can we partner with the industry, the motor carriers, other private entities, so that we can deliver the data that needs to be at their disposal for them to make decisions at their end that require less intervention from us. How can we make the entire process more efficient, from inspections to investigations to the registration process? We have to do a lot of them. Can we make them efficient in the way we only do those interventions that are absolutely necessary versus randomly sampling something and getting a 20%, 30% success rate? Because at that rate, 70% of the time, you're doing interventions on clean carriers, which I don't know how useful is that from a safety perspective. We've built all of these elements that we talked about into some of the safety products that we've already launched. Last 3 years, FMCSA has been on a transformation journey. 23, we launched SafeSpec, which is our integrated crash reporting, inspection, and investigations module. And we got recognized as one of the most innovative organizations in the country for that. 24, we got the same recognition, but this time for our data platform that takes all of our transactional data from 60-odd applications and aggregates them so that we can develop better insights. These insights and this aggregation capability had never been available at the agency before. But now we have a tool for us to look through our entire data set and a carrier's life cycle from when they registered all the way when they have interventions and interactions with us to paint a picture and truly find patterns. And I know I'm like 10 slides in and I haven't mentioned AI yet, which is an accomplishment in itself, because you can't walk 10 steps these days without talking those words. But we can have AI machine learning models to detect patterns that are synonymous with fraud, synonymous with a potential crash, synonymous with the potential safety incident that's other than the crash. So we have those capabilities now. And last year, we got recognized for our fraud prevention methodology we call Total Shield, which is based on knowing who you're dealing with, digital transformation, and open data sharing so that everybody is more educated about making the decisions that they need to make and have less fraud in the industry itself. The final piece to this puzzle is convergence. Who remembers 1998 when you had to carry a cell phone, a pager, had a computer, maybe had an MP3 player, a camera, all of those things separately? Me too, right? So you need to have all that equipment, and we were all proud of the different stuff that we had back then because it was all cutting edge, right? Enter 2007, and this little thing called an iPhone got introduced, and it knocked away your MP3 player, your camera, your computer even, email, BlackBerries, all were gone because they were all in one device that you could put in your pocket and move away. That changed industries forever, right? We are at the cusp of another revolution that is AI for one. So we also are looking at convergence at many different things. We have 60-odd applications that we are modernizing into 7 platforms that are integrated so that there's a convergence on the capability side. What that means for you is something like Modus, one-stop shop. You don't have to go through 6 different applications to do everything. Everything's available right there and then. You don't have to learn the maze of systems that we've developed over time. You log into one thing, and everything that you need to do your job is served to you right there and then in one screen, right? So that's convergence. The other thing is we are going to see, and some of us like it and some of us don't like it, and that's okay. There is going to be a convergence of human capability and machine capability. It may happen tomorrow, it may happen in a week, it may happen in 3 years down the line, but it's going to happen. You will see machines doing some of the work, even if it's not decision-making, grunt work that allows humans to focus on high-quality work. This is my opinion. It's not taking away jobs, it's changing jobs. So that change is coming. And the last convergence that's going to happen is we don't believe that we have all the bright ideas. At least I don't believe I have all the bright ideas. There are other smart people out there in the industry that have bright ideas, and they're already working on it at their own time. We want to foster good public-private partnerships that help us evolve our ecosystem in a better way, in a faster way, because no point in reinventing wheels that have already been reinvented. How can we use each other's capabilities to solve the different problems that we have? We all have safety issues. You have safety issues from your perspective, we have safety issues from our perspective. Let's knowledge share to see where there are synergies so that we can learn from each other. And we've packaged all of these things that we talked about in Modus, which is our new US DOT registration system. As I said, it's a one-stop shop. It has fraud resistance capabilities built into it, and Ken's going to dive a lot deeper into a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. But it is also helping us aggregate, collect, and use data that turns data into insights. The number one principle that we've used to build anything that we're building is collect once, use many times. If you already given us an information one time, there should not be a reason for us to ask you for over again. It doesn't change, right? So that's where we're going. In conclusion, I have an ask from everybody, and the ask is, we want to be partners with you in evolving where FMCSA is going from a technology standpoint, right? We are trying to modernize systems that are 30, 40, 50 years old. Innovation is rarely a straight line. It's not. There are going to be moments where we'll feel there are challenges, there are going to be hurdles, and there's going to be times where we're going to feel the technology is less than perfect. But one thing I will assure you is we have a relentless bias for action. And you've heard that in the words of the administrator as well. We are going to act on what we think is going to move the agency forward, and hence the name MODUS. It's a Latin word that says motion or progress. We want to continuously move and make progress in the right direction. So we ask for your partnership. We ask for some patience in case things don't seem perfect in one go, because we are not going to stop making progress. And even when it feels perfect, we will still continue to make progress because, as I said, technology evolves and technology starts to become stale if we if we ever stop making progress and not improve from where we are. With that, I will hand it over to Ken Riddle, our Director of Office of Registration, who will tell you how all of these technology improvements are packaged into MODUS and how they will change and improve our registration ecosystem and the data that comes with it. Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ankur. Appreciate it. Note to self, don't follow Administrator Bars and Ankur. They set the bar too high. I want to deep dive into MODUS real quick. Don't have a lot of time left, but so let me advertise up front. The FMCSA booth is in the main entrance, in the foyer in there, and there are some customer service reps there from FMCSA that will talk to you about MODUS, and actually will show you MODUS. They've got it live on their laptops, and they can show you parts of the application. As Ankur said, people say, what's MODUS stand for? It's not an acronym. Ankur said it, it's a Latin word for the motion, and I like to think of it, it's moving the industry forward. And that's what we want the new registration system to do. It's going to be mobile friendly. It's going to streamline the processes and the forms. It's just, right now we have the MCS 150, we have the OP1, we've got a lot of forms to fill out. We've got MCMS, we got L&I, we got SAFER. One system, one form. And depending on what you're registering for, it will take you down that workflow, and it won't ask you questions about something that's not related to what you're registering for. It'll do data validation, and it's got fraud prevention. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's a lot better than what we have today. But we're going to build upon it, as Ankur said, as we move forward. So on day one, when we launch, keep in mind, we've got more stuff to add, more improvements to make, but it'll be a lot better than what we have today. I don't think I said this last year that it's coming soon. I said something similar, and it is coming soon, and it's coming sooner rather than later, okay? In fact, I think we're getting pretty close to announcing a date for MODUS to go live, because we're getting pretty close. But it'll be a one-stop shop where you can manage your full life cycle. You can register as a brand new carrier. You can do your biennial update in MODUS. You can do a name change, an update, whatever you got to do. It's all going to be one system. You just go in there and select the workflow you want, and it'll take you down that path. Again, it'll do all these things that I just mentioned, one-stop shopping. You can, if you need to upload documents, it'll be real easy to do. Right there on the screen, drag and drop documents. So if we need some sort of supporting evidence or something that we ask you for, you'll just be able to drop them right there within MODUS. There's online help right within the application where you can either call, chat, or email with our contact center if you need help during the process. All built into the application. There's 3 roles for most users. There's the company account owner, and we truly mean that. The company account owner will manage the account, and the company account owner will add users and delete users at will. We're not going to manage the account anymore. That's going to be the owner's responsibility. There'll be an owner alternate who has all the same roles as the company owner, except the alternate cannot change the company account owner. That's the one thing they can't do. Otherwise, they have the same roles. And then you just add users, whether that be if you want to use a service provider to do things for you, you can add them as a user. Or maybe there's a lot of employees in the company, you can add them as users, but you will manage your own account. And everybody will have an account. So if you're an insurance company and you file insurance on behalf of your customers, or you file a BOC3, which is a process agent form, or you're a service provider or a consultant, everyone must have an account to interact in the Modus. So a little different than we operate today. It will have identity verification. In fact, there's identity verification in front of our legacy systems today. So if you happen to go into what we call our unified registration system today, you would have to go through identity verification to register. It's going to be a little bit stronger in Modus, where you scan a QR code right there in the application. You'll have to use your iPad or iPhone or Galaxy, whatever you got. Then you scan your documents. We're accepting those 4 forms of ID at the bottom. That's a driver's license, a passport, a resident card, or a government-issued identity card. Those 4 forms. And then you scan your face. It's got to be a live scan. It can't be like uploading a photo. And then it does all its work in the background to verify your identity, to make sure you are who you say you are. And then it'll pre-populate the application with the name on the ID, and you can't change it. So we're enhancing the security to protect you, to protect your accounts. And then, as Ankur mentioned, we're adding a business verification check, because it's one thing to say you are who you say you are. It's another thing whether you should be registering that business or making changes for that business. So we're going to verify the business as well. And this is being built into Modus. We'll look at some basic information like business name, your EIN, your address and phone number, and then look at state records and Department of State records to validate the business. And we'll continue to add on that. But we can't just let anybody register anything anymore. There's got to be some checks to protect you. I already mentioned that everybody's going to have an account. To include, like if you're if you're an insurance provider, you'll be able to see those that you have filed insurance for. You'll be able to manage your customers. Same thing with a BOC3 process agent. They'll be able to go in there and remove a BOC3 filing. Maybe that customer's not paying or whatever, or they no longer have a business relationship. The process agent, the blanket company, can go in there and cancel a filing. And then a notice will go out that you need 30 days. That carrier will get 30-day notice to make a new filing. All managed within Modus. When it rolls out, this is the first screen you're going to come upon. We got to link you with your new account in Modus. We've moved all the data into a new database. And we need to link you to your account. And how we're going to do that is whoever is the company portal company official in portal today, in your portal account today, is who will need to claim the Modus account. So here's the ask. Make sure in the portal today that the portal company official, that's the name of the field, is the right person, accurately reflects who it is today, so they can claim the Modus account. No one else will be able to claim the account except whoever's name is in that field. So go into portal today, talk to my team out there at the booth if you need help, and make sure that name is accurate and up to date. And then we will link you to your DOT number in Modus. And you'll be off and running with an updated account. And then if you want to apply new, that's obviously the second choice. These are just a few of the screenshots, but again, we've got the system out at the booth that you can take a closer look at. But really easy to manage. You can look down there left, the business information, biannual update, whatever you want to do, with a menu across the top. Really easy selections to make at the top, real user-friendly. I'm going to walk down, the next slides go down the line there, business, biennial, and operational details. Here's the business information, easily displayed. Here's the biennial update reminder with the date that your biennial update is due in red if it's getting close. So really easy to understand. You would just click update and you could go right in. Now, you can only update 3 things for biennial update: your power units, drivers, and miles. And then here's that last account just showing more information. It'll show your new entrant status if you're in a new entrant program or if you've never been in the program. So it's tied to the new entrant program. Keeps you out of the new entrant program if you're not supposed to be in there. Thank goodness. There'll be a suffix at the end of the US DOT number to quickly identify the authority you have, because one day we are doing away with the MC numbers. It won't be on day one, but eventually we're going to do away with MC numbers. There's no requirement for an MC number. Your account, everything is going to be driven by the US DOT number. These suffixes will not be a marking requirement on the side of the truck. It's just a quick way to identify what authorities you have. And if you got multiple authorities, you'll have multiple suffixes at the end of the DOT number. Here's an example. Like a property carrier plus household goods would have a C and an H. Property carrier plus freight forwarder, a C and an F, etc. And quickly find company. This is kind of like using Safer. See the search box at the top that's highlighted? Anybody can go into Modus and search for a carrier and it'll bring up basic business information, basic census information. Just like you can do in Safer today, you'll be able to search within Modus. Again, this is the ask that you go in and make sure that portal company official name is the updated name and accurate. That's the person that will be allowed to claim the Modus account, and only that person. And if it's not right and you're having trouble changing it, again, talk to our customer service reps. And this is the last slide. It was quick and dirty. We have a website. You go to the FMCSA homepage, and there's a registration menu item. Click on that, and you'll find the resource page for Modus, where we're trying to keep updated information about Modus out there. We even have some videos on the identity verification process and the latest information about Modus. I didn't leave a lot of time for questions, but there's about 4 minutes yet. If you have a question for Ankur or I, we're happy to take your question. But I'm sure Ankur will be willing. I'm willing to stay afterwards here or in the hallway to answer your other questions. So if you have a question, please step up to the microphone.
So I have 2 quick questions. One, is there a date that this has to be done?
A date for you to fix or make sure the portal company official? I can just tell you soon.
Okay.
Soon.
And
because it's coming soon.
once it's done, let's say the portal official owns the company and he dies. How do we get in the system?
If you're having, like, if that person's no longer available and can't change it, you see our customer service reps or you call us and we'll help you get it changed.
Okay. All right. And I've got one more in the hallway. Got you in the back here.
Yes, you're saying that it's going to be a one-stop shop, and 2 other things pop into my mind. Will the clearinghouse be integrated, and CSA also, to make it a complete one-stop shop?
So the answer to start off is no. But CSA, yes, we can display the CSA information in there. That's planned. Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, I think we have slightly different target audience for that. So not everybody goes there. I think it's a more driver-based system than a carrier-based system. So DACH, I don't see a big overlap with, but CSA, yes, you should be able to see all your information there, yes.
The question that I have actually has to do with the identity verification process. I know the IRS and other organizations are doing the selfie, taking a selfie and all of that.
Yep.
And I know that the company that that verifies ID.me and the other organization, that company actually is not located in the United States, and they are building a meta map. So I want to know, when I take a selfie of myself, I want to know, is that information and the data that you guys are collecting, is that going to stay here in our country, or is that going to go part of the meta map where they are creating digital profiles of everybody?
So we are not using ID.me, one. So that's not the solution we're using. We're using IDEMIA, which is the same company that you fly into an airport and they scan your passport with. That's the company we use. And for our data, that data is purged after they validate identity. They're not required. They're not allowed to store that data. So we don't have a repository of that data.
All right, it's 11 o'clock, and I'm going to take your question over on the side here, I promise. It's 11 o'clock, and I know we have somebody following, so we're going to have to cut off the questions. But again, we'll hang around. If you had other questions, we're happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.